What is this video? What's happening? Has the entire world gone mad? Has existence, the universe as you know it, has it flipped upon its head? No, my friends. The title of this video does not lie to you. This right here is the absolute apex, the pinnacle, the alpha build for Bounce and Boon. This is the exact perfect 60 to make this deck run like a well-oiled, gorgeous machine. And I know that I did a 60 not but 3 days ago, and yes, I have footage of that. I have footage of it losing. I have footage of it winning. I have footage of sick plays being pulled off where we bounce and attack and parry and thrust and blah blah blah. But a comment in a comment thread on one of my videos, the link to that video and that comment thread will be down below if you want to go check that out, with one of the best contributors to the channel, viewer contributors, Marco, got me thinking, got me along a track that led to this optimum build. This basic deck concept is completely his idea, but I have made a couple of tiny tweaks and twonks to it to get it running at what I believe is optimum efficiency. You have an out for every scenario, and seemingly miraculously, you are able to find them when you need them. This is your deck tech redux for Bounce and Boon. Let's get in and see what's going on. Now, the very first thing you're going to notice is that I am now running a 4-pack of Soul Wardens. My original reasoning for leaving the Soul Wardens out was because I wanted to be a more aggressive deck. This was a terrible miscalculation on my part because the Soul Wardens are what allows you to be so aggressive. At first, I said that's eating up 4 slots, 3 slots in my deck. I don't want to run all these guys. I don't even want to run a fraction of them because those are slots that could have more aggressive abilities. But you guys, what I failed to see was that Soul Warden is going to give you the life which will afford you the freedom to bash in and be very aggressive with seemingly no regard to your own life points. Having 28 or 32 life on turn 3 or 4 is an absolutely ridiculous undertaking for your opponent to be facing. And it is going to allow you to bash in with reckless abandon at almost every stage in the match. It's really going to help you get to a stronger, higher tempo where you're going to be able to bash in every single turn with little to no regard for what your opponent is doing on their side of the field. Am I saying that you can be completely reckless? No, of course not, but I am saying that Soul Warden affords you a freedom and a strategic edge that my original 60 was lacking. Coming up next will be 3 core Skyfishers. These serve much the same premise as they did in the original build, except they have the added bonus of being able to come down turn 2 and just picking up a Soul Warden instead of having to pick up a land. This is a 2-3 guy. This is an on-point, on-tempo card that's going to allow you to attack in, not to mention the fact that it is not even close to a dead draw late game because it's going to allow you to pick up and reuse the different spells, the different creatures and abilities that drive this deck. So this guy is good early game and late game, almost especially late game. But of course, his attacks and his prowess are unmatched early on when you're increasing that tempo. White Mane Lion is also a very important card. As I said in the previous 60, he's going to be able to flash in an emergency evacuator creature. So if we're in a bad situation where the creature is in a lot of trouble, White Mane Lion can zoom on in there, bounce that creature back up to our hands, and maybe eat some damage for us or kill one of our opponent's creatures. For some reason, no one seems to be worried about an open 2 mana from Bounce and Boon, and they will attack in with very important creatures to their later strategies or to their setups. So this 2-2 can flash down, rescue one of your other guys, block and kill another creature, not to mention the fact that that allows you to, on the turn previous to playing him, attack in with the creature you're going to bounce. That is a complete tempo change because you're not only destroying one of your opponent's creatures, but you are lowering their life total on the turn before. White Mane Lion is somehow unexpected from by your opponents and is really going to drive the deck late game as well because he does much the same function as Core Skyfisher, only at instant speed, which makes him even better. Another thing where I'm eating crow is the addition of Lone Missionary. Now, Lone Missionary enters the battlefield and you gain 4 life, and I said, that is garbage, I hate this guy. But the thing about this guy is that the 4 life is just icing on the cake. That's just the sweet sugar that makes it even better. What this guy does is he gives you that 4 life, meaning that you don't have the kind of restrictions, because it's not just 4 life. It's not always just 4 life. Sometimes it's 8 life. Sometimes it's 5 life because of this guy. Depending on what the cards in your hand are, this guy can gain you a ton of life relatively quickly. But that's not the focus of what this guy is doing. The life gain is not as important as the fact that this guy is just a vicious, aggressive attacker or defender. Never ever hold on to this guy in the hopes that you'll be able to white mane lion him and play it again for the additional 4 life. The 4 life is not as important to you as destroying one of your opponent's creatures, forcing a bad block, being able to have a good block on your own side, or just dealing 2 damage to your opponent's face. This guy is an aggressive tiger. Use him as a fighter and just think as the 4 life as a bonus. Blade Splicer, the one of her in the deck I would run more if we could, but she's going to come down and give us a 3/3 colorless golem with first strike. That is going to allow us to bash in with, again, with almost no regard to our own life points or anything like that, because if we can bounce her or something like that at the end step with Flicker Wisp after our attack, we're going to have another 3/3 with first strike ready to defend. It's just a very strong core card to the aggressive tempo of this deck. Speaking of Flicker Wisp, this thing is amazing in this deck. There are a ton of tricks that we can do. He can come down, he's bouncing stuff, he's bringing stuff back. Never forget that it's target permanent, so he can untap a land for you. If you have Flash Cat in hand, he can do something crazy like that. Not to mention the fact that if it is a enchantment that's just on the field, giving them like a No Mercy, you can have Flicker Wisp come down on your first main, bounce the No Mercy, attack all in with all of your guys. None of them will die because No Mercy is not on the table. No Mercy will come back into play at your end step. But by that time, you've already massively reduced your opponent's life points when they thought that they had you over a barrel. Flicker Wisp is an astounding card. Never forget, though, that it's at the end of your end step. There's nothing in this deck that's going to allow you to flash in Flicker Wisp. So when he comes in, you have to be aware that if you're targeting your opponent's creature or any sort of enchantment or anything like that, that this guy is going to come back. Your target is going to come back and not have summoning sickness or any of those negative connotations by the time your opponent's turn rolls around, because this is all at the beginning of your end step. So that's an important thing to keep in mind as well. Things that do have long-lasting effects long past your own end step are going to be Core Hookmaster. We run 2 of them because this is defensive powerhouse in this deck. Not only can it sometimes tap down multiple targets, it can tap down, even at its worst, it comes down and taps down your opponent's largest creature, allowing you to form a more powerful or greater alpha strike, because you don't even have to worry about that powerful creature untapping and attacking you on your opponent's turn. This guy allows you to completely alter not only your own play strategy, but that of your opponents. It makes them have to think of much more defensive plays than they would have previously. I would also like to point out that this guy synergizes very, very well with a little card called Sunblast Angel, where we'll be able to bounce over and over again on the turn previous to playing the Angel and tap maybe 2, maybe even 3 guys before laying that Angel down and wiping all of them out. So if they do have a creature that is avoiding some of the combat in order to have a status-based effect or field-altering effect that is really draining your resources, you can have Hookmaster and Angel deal that damage. Now, I know that's kind of a far-fetched combo, but I have had it go off multiple times, so, I mean, it's not too far gone. You do have 2 of these guys, you see them pretty frequently, and Angel shows up enough times to make that a mentionable offense. But even if that isn't the case, the ability to attack in with no repercussions from your opponent, because that thing is not able to untap, is going to really change the tempo of the game as well. Another tempo changer is Attended Knight, because not only is it a 2/2, it has First Strike, allowing you to have very favorable blocks early on if you're in trouble. It also brings a 1/1 Soldier into play. This guy is going to be able to also give you that added layer of protection and allow you to maybe attack in with your Attended Knight, that 2/2 First Strike, because you have a 1/1 chump blocker on hand. Attended Knight is an auto 3-run in my opinion. Now, one of the main points where I and Marco disagree is the inclusion of Oblation. He has only 2 others in his deck. We'll talk about those in a little bit, but I still think that Oblation is a major driver of this deck. The same combo I talked about before, where you drop Attended Knight, block with a token, and then Oblation the token to draw 2 cards, thereby effectively gaining you 3, 4, 5 life because you get the block, and 2 cards for only 3 mana is still on fire, and I love that play, and I would never get rid of this card. Solemn Simulacrum is still a home run hitter as well. iRobot here is a very strong contender because he's able to grab you extra lands. Now, we are running 24 lands, which is 1 more than my old 60. It allows for a lot more freedom and a lot less tense situations. I will say, though, that the life gain in this pile and the tremendous amount of 3-drops means that the extra land is not necessarily going to win you the game, or it's not really going to change the averages too much in your favor. But it is still just an added layer of security, and we're not really missing anything out of this particular build by adding that 24th land. This guy also gets you a card when he dies, making him an extremely strong contender. Restoration Angel, I shouldn't have to tell you how amazing this guy is. They can flash in, provide you with that block, and bounce one of your creatures, allowing you to refresh them. I mean, you could have another 2/2 First Striker on the ground being able to block if you use Restoration Angel. I mean, the possibilities are almost endless when you're able to cast Resto. 4 open mana to your opponent should be a terrifying experience, because you could have a 3/4 in the air blocking, as well as another 2/2 First Strike and a 1/1, all blocking, all bringing you in those added, maybe even life points, and definitely added value. Dust Elemental, as I said before, not only does he have Flying and Fear, which is super relevant. The fact that he has Fear is almost insane. Some people don't understand. They think their white creatures can block it. Fear is not the same as Intimidate. Fear means that only artifact creatures and or black creatures can block this guy because their, darkness slash mechanical nature doesn't allow them to feel fear. That's the flavor behind it. But even other white decks, so the majority of flyers, blue, white, are going to be unable to block this dude, and he's going to crash in for 6. Most of the time, going to sew up that win for you. Not to mention the fact that he has Flash, making him completely unexpected to your opponent. Against that new fairy deck, you can flash this in at a point where they have just 1 mana shy, maybe they just have a few mana shy of being able to cast Reigns of Power and beat you to death with the Dust Elemental. It's almost a risk-free attack on your instep, allowing you to deal some damage to them and not really have to worry about the Reigns play, because if they have 4 mana, that should be a very scary sign for you to play something that big. Now, Dust Elemental also plays that role of being able to kind of mass evac our pile, just in case they play some kind of terrible soul-crushing Wrath of God effect. Dust Elemental can come out there, bounce 2 guys and himself. Do not forget that he can bounce himself and save some people that way. I'm also running a 1 of Valor. I used to run the 2, I cut it down to 1, mostly because the aggression in this deck means that a 4-drop 2/2, even with First Strike, is not super strong, but the 2/2 in the yard is a very, very great prospect. This is going to allow us to face our opponent if they're playing the recursion pile, the blue-black pile. If they make us discard, or if we have a step or something where we're able to get a guy into the yard, it's going to allow us to much more effectively block down their large creatures, because we'll be able to kill them before a lot of bad stuff happens. I'll also point out that Valor is amazing against the other huge deck in the pile, the ramp deck, the Eldrazi pile, because if they attack in with an Annihilator creature, you can sack Valor to the Annihilate trigger, and thereby give all your creatures First Strike before the block happens. Then you can block down that huge dude with, 12 power, or 12 defense, with, you know, 12 of your power and kill it once and for all and save all your guys. So that is a fantastic guy, I think, to at least run a 1 of, and I stand by that. Cathar's Crusade. This is a driver of the deck, of course. It gives the +1/+1 counter to your creatures with the bounce. It doesn't always affect the field in quite the way you would want to, but just a single +1/+1 counter on each creature you control can win you the game, and it has done so for me many a time. So I cannot stress enough that Cathar's Crusade is probably worth it, because if you have 6 mana, now that we have 1-drops, you can get that +1/+1, and that has happened. I had Cathar's Crusade, and one of the you know, the 1-drop guys, oh my god, I can't even remember the name now, Warden, Soul Warden, that's it. I was thinking of other Wardens. But that just allowed me to get the +1/+1, and my opponent just bounced because of the sudden and drastic increase of power on my side. Duplicant, once again, is removal for your opponents. It's multi-removal. We can cast it multiple times. We can get rid of multiple creatures. He costs a ton, but we do have the 2 iRobots and the 24 lands. It's going to allow us to get to Duplicant a little bit more reliably than before. Now we're going to get into some 1 of territory, which is, again, where I somewhat differ from Marco's build, because these cards are each powerful in their own right, but I don't think that I need to see them too often. I've had 2 Sun Titans in my hand multiple times over the course of playtesting, not only this build, but my previous 60 as well, and that's not exactly a fantastic feeling. You feel pretty good because you can play the first Sun Titan and have it killed and then just cast your second one, but that's kind of a tie-up towards the end of the game. And with some of your other plays and some of your other big drops, you're going to get just as much of a power swing as you would from Sun Titan. I actually think Sun Titan, even though most of your creatures are going to be able to recur from the graveyard onto the battlefield using him, I don't think he's quite as strong as he is in some previous builds, and I almost would rather have that enchantment that gives you +1/+1 with the kicker allowing you to bring creatures back from the graveyard. I assume that they thought that would be too powerful, but that would be an amazing addition to this deck. Sun Titan's fantastic. He's in here, though. Sunblast Angels, another 1 of. That is going to be one of those cards that I said combos nicely with earlier parts of the deck. It's also going to allow us to have that removal, because we don't have the passivisms, we don't have removal in this particular build, because we don't need it early game. We don't need the early game removal because we have a lot of life gain, but when our opponents get to a position where they can cut down the tree, start chopping at our 38, 42 life points, wherever we're at, whatever that may be, they're going to be doing so with alpha strikes, with huge dudes, making Sunblast Angel all the sweeter. It's going to come down, it's going to clear their side of the field because you play at your first main, then you're going to be able to attack unencumbered, and just get a large life total swing and board position swing all at once. Captain of the Watch is another great guy. It's going to gain you a bunch of life if you have a couple of the life gain dudes out. It's also got the Vigilance, which is super useful and brings 3 creatures and gives Vigilance to everybody. We do have a couple other soldiers. I'm not going to fly all the way through the pile, but the core flyer, Hookmaster, is also a soldier as well, so that's going to be an important thing to note. Mere Battlesphere is a great card as well. It gives you a lot of dudes, it has a lot of attack presence, and it almost always eats removal, but even still, even if it gets killed or removed from the game, it did bring you those 4 dudes. That is a lot of mana to pay for a 4-dude guy, but that late, even just eating a removal spell could win you the game, and if he is able to attack, chances are that you're going to be able to kill your opponent with the math. Finally, Myojin of Cleansing Fire. This guy is one of my dedicated board wipers. Against zombies and stuff like that, he's able to really tidy up their side of the field, and if they have 1 or 2 guys that have Undying, he's able to stay on the field and block them and kind of take care of them that way. Not to mention the fact that you can bounce him back up to your hand and play him on a subsequent turn and just start the whole process over again, because remember, he has indestructible up until the point where you pop that counter off of him and wipe the entire field. So that's a very important thing to denote. So there you go, you guys. That is the optimum, the perfect, the amazing, the stupendous build inspired by Marco's deck list and then slightly tweaked by me. This is the optimal build. I promise you that it is, but you don't have to take my word for it. Let's see this thing in action. Alright, you guys, here we go. This is going to be our opportunity to show what this deck can do. I'm really excited. I was playtesting this all last night. That's why I was so excited in that that first look video, the first look portion of this video. I do kind of want to toss this back. This is better. It's a little bit more favorable. I have the 1-drop. I'm going to draw into the 3. And it's especially useful against this guy. The first strike's going to be pretty nice too. But I am very passionate about this deck. I stand behind it 100%. I think it's really, really just fantastic. The Exile's good, but I definitely did not want to see Duplicant this early on. We should be a little worried. I mean, this is a 60-card zombie runner, so we could be facing some problems. But, no, he's just going to lay the land second man. He's trying to get the block here, which, are you kidding me? No. He's going to lay the land right here. Yeah. So this guy is good at the game. He's got an Undying Creature. We need 1 land. 19 life. That'll do it. Unfortunately, we do have to sit around for just a little bit longer. He's probably going to have the removal for our Blade Splicer as well, but we'll still have a 3/3 guy out there, even without First Strike, and we might be able to give it First Strike later on. That's going to be really useful for us. Dust Elemental's good in this scenario because it's able to attack. It's not... I mean, flyers are not a problem for this deck, so the fear doesn't come into play, but the flying definitely is, and the flash will be super useful as well. That's going to be pretty good, but we do need to find that last land. He's only got 1 showing, so I went ahead and played that land maybe a little early. We'll take him down to 17, gain 2 life, and get a couple of blockers, because Blade Splicer's not above jumping into the fray. I just don't think that it's a fantastic play for us. I can pick all these guys up, too, and then just relay the Soul Warden and the Splicer same turn, which will be really good, because that's, you know, a gain of 2 more life, of course. But I need to draw that land so I can properly Dust Elemental and get to that play. I almost like playing this guy first, because, again, like, the Soul Warden out here allows me to not really have to worry about the fact that I'm at 18 life right now, especially with Captain of the Watch. If I can ramp up to Captain of the Watch, I'll be in pretty good shape. So I think playing Solemn this turn, when I rip this land, and I assure you, I will rip this land, I think that is going to be the play. 4 land is really dangerous to sit across from that, especially with the lack of removal that I have. Evidently, he didn't have somebody to bump up the field with. Arbiter Ghoul, I really don't understand why people are so in love with playing this guy in that deck. The life gain has almost nothing to do with the tempo of that thing. I really just don't see the point. Now he does have late game tricks that he can do. That's a block, and he'll gain 3 life. I don't necessarily like that. That's what he's setting up for. Let's attack with that 3/3 though. See what he does. I assume he could just block with the 1/1, which is also okay. He just took it, which is fascinating to me. I really expected the block from the Arbiter Ghoul. I thought that's why he played him. Maybe he does have the extra power in his hand, just hasn't played it yet. We can almost assuredly say that he doesn't have the guy that allows him to get dudes out of the graveyard, the 3-drop +1/+1 to all zombies, because then he definitely would have just thrown down the block, traded the creature, gained the life. I don't see, now I don't understand this play, because I felt for sure that he didn't have that. I'm genuinely confused by this. Now we have a first striker of our own, so this guy's actually able to just come down here and get rid of that for us. You know what, but I almost want him to just take that guy down. I know it'll be a 3/3, but he can just replay this anyway, and I want to kind of run him out if we can, so that if he has the board wipe, he'll go ahead and kill his field as well, because that's where you really run into trouble. Flicker Wisp is not bad here. I get to still attack for the 3. But I have to be very careful because my Dust Elemental is not necessarily going to be super helpful here. Interesting block. Now he can get that guy back, of course. Flicker Wisp I don't really want to play at this point. I do have a 6/6 surprise blocker that will happen. I could also just block them down and then Dust Elemental and pick them all up like I was saying earlier. You can block down with your 1/1s and then Dust Elemental, pick them up. You don't take any of that damage because they were declared blocked during your block step. But I think we're just going to play Dust Elemental. My only thing here is that he has open removal money. That's kind of frightening to me. Yeah. Just let this happen and see what he plays. His second main. I don't like the fact that he's still got the removal open. And that is a big dude. Who's he gonna kill, though? Who does he not want me to pick up? The Blade Splicer? Because he's got the Doom Blade. That's for sure. He's gonna kill this when it sits here. I'm at 11, though. Okay. So we can attack because the 3/2 can't actually block us. 6, 5, that's 11. But we have the blockers that we need. We'll play that. Blade Splicer Flicker Wisp, I think, is the play. But he's got the removal for it. So that's what he wants us to do. So we might just play the duplicate and get rid of his Lord so they drop, but then we're still not super favorable. I almost just want to drop Captain of the Watch here. If I had one more mana, because I was saying Blade Splicer into Flicker Wisp, but he'll just murder the Blade Splicer when I play and target it with the Flicker Wisp. So I almost just want a Captain of the Watch because I get a bunch of defenders and I get to kill him next turn. So he has to use the board wipe if he has it, and I don't just have a massive amount of life gain there. So the 2 mana was just for this grab, which is inconsequential here. I have him dead in the air, unless he has this removal, of course. See, and this is where the Valor, I didn't get to play him because we were being a little too, just a smidgen too defensive. But if all these guys had first strike, this would be a much more exciting moment for us. So we could corrupt for 6, so I can take 4, but I can't take... That's what I can take. So I'm at 7. So he can corrupt 4, 6, take me to 1. The life gain would absolutely suck, but at least I'd still be alive. Okay. So he has removal for the 6. Attack at all. Because now he has to block even if he has the removal. Nope, there you go. That's the win. That is the win with this deck because this deck wins. That's what it does. I'm really surprised we didn't see any removal out of him, but I think I played around it adequately. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments. I know this is an unprecedented thing, me to do a Redux video midweek, but I promise you we'll be getting all that footage that I had for the old one. We'll be going up sporadically here and there whenever I get it edited. This, of course, is going to be the main focus for the rest of the week, is going to be playing this deck and getting those videos up, because this thing is a powerhouse. It's a freaking tiger. I really hope that you guys give it a try. And, I mean, you know, all due respect And thanks to Marco for setting me down this path. We had a discussion. I wanted to hold on to those pacifisms and that safety net of the past just a little too tightly. Once I kind of let that go, this deck just kind of crystallized and solidified. I think it's an amazing deck. I hope you guys like it a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out that other video and the comment thread, which the link to that will be down in the description. There's also a link down there to my other channel, Technovolver. There's no videos on there yet, but we'll be having more Let's Plays of classic games and stuff like that going up on that channel soon. A lot of indie game coverage, game reviews, all that sort of stuff will be going up there. I'm super psyched about this build. I'm super psyched about this deck. So if you can share this however you can, if you know somebody who's interested in Magic, go ahead and send them the link to this video, and I would be eternally grateful to you in your beautiful faces. But even if you don't do any of that, I want to thank you for watching this video through to the end and hanging out with me for the past half hour. I appreciate it, and I want to say to you all that I will see you tomorrow.